All right, welcome back to the Dungeon of Doom. I am Kyle Meinke, Lions beat reporter for MLive, joined as always by Ben Raven. Coming off the bye there, Ben. How you feeling?
I'm good, man. You know,
Rested?
rested up, recharged. Took second place in a chili cook-off in Bel Air. Won a cornhole tournament. Had a very Midwest bye week.
I went to Lake Michigan. I went to my hometown, Kent City, Michigan. It's like one little stoplight north of Grand Rapids, farm country. I got sick, which was unfortunate. I did make space to go to the Tigers game, game 3 on Wednesday. That was, what a spectacular day. I know you were there as well.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I saw your post on Instagram later, but man, like downtown, like listen, like we've seen it with the Lions, but you and I are working. We don't always get to participate in it. To see downtown so alive, with energy and excitement, and then going to the game, perfect weather. I just had standing room tickets. We're just standing out there having a beer, and man, it was a good day to be a Detroiter.
It was awesome, man. I've had Tiger fever. I was at the Friday game when they clinched. It was 44,000+. Yesterday was just, man, a day game, downtown Detroit, nearly 45,000 people there. It's just it's an awesome time to be in this city, man, because it was alive. That was electric. Just awesome.
Tigers are, I mean, they could clinch the their berth in the ALCS as soon as today as of this recording, and the Lions are 3-1 coming out of the bye. Big game this week in Dallas. It's the game of the week, late game on Sunday. Not prime time, which is nice for beat writers.
It's the best. This is the best slot.
But it's like it's a big game. It feels like a big game. I'm excited. I'm still getting my brain. Like I said, I was sick as well, and I just been out of the Lions beat for a few days. Kind of needed that after going every day since training camp, and a lot has happened since. But yeah, the Lions are 3-1, man, and they're got a real tough test. I think we're going to know a lot about this team here in the next 5 weeks. There's 4 road games in 5 weeks. All those teams are pretty good along the way. I think we're about to learn a lot about this team.
Yeah, man. Cowboys and then the undefeated Vikings. That's a big 2-week span, a big 3-week. Get that win over the Seahawks. If you can get a win over the Cowboys, that's how you position yourself well for the playoffs. And I mean, yeah, they have a lot of reasons to want to beat this Cowboys team.
Yeah. We were down in Dallas last year. Yeah. I've never in my life seen Dan Campbell as pissed as he was when they threw that flag. We all know the deal now, right? Like they send Dan Skipper out there as the jumbo offensive lineman. He's doing the hand signals for the formations and the play stuff, and the officials interpret that as him reporting when Taylor Decker's standing right in front of Brett Allen, reporting is eligible. And yeah, we all know how that story goes. They throw the pass to Decker, he catches it, wins the game, except there's a flag for illegal touching because they declared Skipper eligible. It was too damn loud in the stadium for anyone to realize it in the moment, players and coaches. And they lost that game. Have to go to San Francisco in the championship game because of that. And so we saw what happened.
Yeah, we did. We did.
Huge play, terrible call. They really came down the Lions for it afterward. That kind of pissed them off too, sending out memos to the league.
I forgot about that.
Oh, here's the circle on Dan Skipper report. Nah, he was not reporting as eligible. There's Taylor Decker right there reporting as eligible.
Yeah.
What a mess. And I know they've said the right things this week about, hey, we've turned the page. This game is a big one because it's the next one. That's true, but it's a big one because they haven't beaten the Cowboys in like a million years. They're going back to Dallas. Dan Campbell's from down the road. I know this is a big game for him. Just getting some measure of revenge for what happened last year. I really believe that's how they feel. And we've seen them use that kind of stuff too before, Ben, like doing a really good job of putting losses behind them and into perspective in a reasonable way that fuels the fire rather than distracts from the task at hand.
Yeah, and it's kind of fascinating that last week, it was 2 weeks ago now or whatever, it was the Seahawks and just all talking about all the struggles against them, and now it's Dallas. Third trip in as many years there. I mean, I do give credit to the players like Hutchinson and Goff earlier this week. They're like, yeah, we're pissed off about last year, but like we haven't beat this team in 2 tries, so that's what we're focused on. So I do. It's the perfect coaching staff for moments like this. And I know Dan Campbell said he's going to have a ton of people at this game on Sunday. You can throw in all the motivating factors you want, but like at the end of the day, this is a huge game for NFC positioning, and that's what it's all about in the end run.
Right. Yeah, they're since 2022 coming out of a loss, they're 8-0.
Unbelievable.
Haven't had a losing streak in 2 years. That's pretty good. It's a team record actually. I know they won in the last game it was fine. We saw some of the offensive might of this
Yeah.
team. They really hit their rhythm. And coming out of the bye, they're a lot healthier. I think it's a good position for them going into Dallas, but it kind of feels like they're coming off a loss in some ways, just because like the long-standing issues facing the Cowboys. They're another team that could factor into the playoff picture. I know they want to avenge what happened last time they were down there.
No, I get it. And man, it's contained CD Lamb, and they should be on track, man. That's the Cowboys are beat up right now, but playing solid enough ball the last couple of weeks. But yeah, just contain that passing attack a little more than they did last week, and they'll be better.
Let's dive into the mailbag. We got some good questions here coming out of the bye. As always, you can follow these questions through our subtext program.
Yeah.
Click on any line story on MLive. You can find the information to sign up for a free trial. Pretty cool stuff. And this week, again, a good batch of questions there, Ben, for your 3-1 Lions. We got quite a few about the Derrick Barnes situation, which is actually from a couple weeks ago. They already played one game without him, so we do have an idea maybe of how they'll proceed.
Yeah.
But let's start there, since there seems to be some curiosity about the linebacker situation. I just grabbed one of them. Again, there was quite a few, but this one from Matthew Erickson says, how will Aaron Glenn respond to the loss of Derrick Barnes? Early returns suggest a committee approach. Do you anticipate more nickel? Do the recent linebacker additions fit AG's requirements for Sam? Could another move be made? The Lions did add a couple Sam linebacker types to the practice squad. Cam Gill, Al-Qadim Mohammed. After a couple of weeks of getting their sea legs, if you will. I think they could factor into the picture. We've seen it before. We saw it at receiver already this year, right? With the addition of Tim Patrick and Allen Robinson. And Tim Patrick is already factoring. I mean, he's a starter at this point. Wide receiver 3 and doing some good stuff on that side of the ball. So, down the road, I think maybe those additions could factor in. For now, I think it's going to be Alex Anzalone in some of those Sam linebacker roles. That's what we saw against Seattle. I thought he played pretty well. And then it'll be, I agree with Matthew, the questioner, committee approach, right? Like Jack Campbell can handle multiple responsibilities. Malcolm Rodriguez is he's got a lot of starting experience. And I think he's played pretty well when he's been out there. I think the new body you might see is Trevor Nowaski, who they really like out of Saginaw Valley State. And they actually lost him in the waiver process last year to Arizona. I know there were some sad faces here in Allen Park when that happened, because they really like him on special teams, quality player on defense, and they got him back this year. And I think you might see some more Nowaski going forward as well.
Yeah, I think so too. I actually wrote about Nowaski this morning. I think he had 8 or 9 snaps against the Seahawks, and he created 3 pressures from that Sam spot. Like, he's got the body type for that Sam spot. They were thrilled about getting him back for a reason, but that's a 6'3", 240 guy with 4 or 5 linebacker speed. Like, he's an athlete, and I think they're trying to temper expectations, but he's a developing pup and all that. But I do think you'll see when Anzalone is back in his natural spot with Campbell and Rodrigo's not in the field, I think you could see more Nowaski instead of Ben Neiman. I think that could be the shift there. But yeah, it's Anzalone's tailor-made to switch to that spot too, and I think he'll get the bulk of those. But yeah, watch out for Nowaski. He's got the body type, he's got the athleticism, and 3 pressures on 8 snaps. That's not a bad day at the office.
They have a lot of directions they can go. I think ultimately they really like Alex Anzalone's experience and versatility. At this point, same thing for Jack Campbell. Less experience, obviously, but has played a lot of football since last year in a lot of different roles, including on the edge quite a bit last year. We could see him, be toyed with in some different capacities. I mean, Derrick Barnes, listen, Anzalone is the leader of the group. Jack Campbell is the most physically gifted of the group. There's a reason he was a first-round pick. I think in some ways Barnes was I don't want to say the most indispensable guy, but he had the biggest role. I mean, he was all over the defense, could do so many different things and not just line up, but actually play well and produce. That's a really hard thing to do. And I think losing that versatility, a glue guy you can just put all over the defense, is a difficult thing to replace. But they like the pieces. They have again, just like Matthew said, it's committee approach. There'll be a lot of guys out there, including Malcolm Rodriguez, who I think has played pretty good ball. And I think ultimately we'll see a lot of Campbell and Anzalone in a lot of different roles.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Barnes, I mean, I fully agree. I mean, they were using him like he was Brian Branch, man. I mean, just playing everywhere, finding ways to keep him on the field, finding ways to make him among the most used guys. So yeah, just it's no easy task, but they have 95 linebackers on this roster for a reason.
It's a very deep position group, which is crazy because I've been on this beat for a long time. There was like a decade where they're lucky to have one guy in the building.
Right.
I mean, those days with DeAndre Levy, like they had some really good stuff going on at linebacker, but man, there was like 10 years after that. And particularly in the Patricia years, I mean, Jamie Collins, I don't know, half these guys, I can't remember their names anymore. Just some crazy guys starting games for this team. Jesse Lemonnier.
There you go. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
guys like that. So they've come a long way, and I think they're in pretty good shape. I just kind of do worry, like, what happens if there's an injury to Anzalone or Jack Campbell? I mean, I think that maybe to me is where the Barnes injury hurts the most, is it takes a bite out of your depth, and now you lose another guy. Maybe you have a tougher spot, but I guess that's why they bring in the 2 practice squad guys. And it's early in the season, Ben. There's a lot of football left.
Yeah, early in my Cam Gill research, he had a he had a half sack in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, so he's played on the stage.
Good stuff, Ben. That's why they pay the big bucks.
That's right.
Good stuff. All right, Chris Matthews asks, I'm expecting the secondary to grow and gel as the season develops, but as of right now, at least at the corner position, it doesn't look a lot better than last year or the last 3 years plus. I do expect there to change quite a bit with the talent, but if not, this is on Aaron Glenn. It would seem the coaching downfall is that he's not figuring it out. Basically, just asking about the corner situation, and I don't think they've played that badly. The penalties are a huge issue. Terry Arnold and Carlton Davis are among the league leaders in defensive pass interference, and they didn't even play last week. I think they're 1-2 or 2-3, and so it's been rough stuff out there. Davis had the 3 just in the last game against Seattle. That's the coaching point to me, is like learning to play within the way the game is going to be officiated. I know Terry Arnold thinks he's still at Alabama sometimes with the hand play that he has, but they're going to call it different up here. That it's advantage for the offense. That's how the game is played up here, and it's not entirely fair. It's not good for the defense, but it's how it's played, and he has to adapt. I know that's been coming out of the bye has been a big coaching point for this defense.
Arnold's got 8 penalties. Davis has 5. I was just looking at this. Arnold's in the top spot even after the bye week, and I enjoyed Aaron Glenn's statements on kind of it's technique. You're working on that, but he's like, at the same time, getting hands on balls, they're playing the way they want to play, but they know they need to refine it. Like, you're going to get called for penalties, you're going to get called for DPIs, but you don't want 13 DPIs through 4 games for your 2 outside starting cornerbacks. That's my main concern. I kind of disagree with Chris here. I'm not. This quarterback situation's a lot better than I've seen the last 3 years.
There's talent out there. They play well. It's the penalties. They're backbreakers when they're PIs, right? It's a spot foul. We all know the deal. Brutal. And it's when they're in the end zone, which I think 4 of them have been. 3 have led to touchdowns. It's a tough spot.
No, I really like what Meek Robinson has done for this defense. And I know Davis is getting knocked by the analytics site, but I like what he brings to this defense too. And I'm not fearful of Arnold. I mean, I think these are the type of things, these are the type of growing pains you want to have. You want to have a sticky cornerback being too physical, being too handsy early in their career, because at least they're there trying to make a play. You can work on that stuff, I do believe, because life in the NFL for a cornerback is freaking tough, man, and they're learning that out. But Glenn's not going to put oven mitts on them yet to keep away with the handsiness, but I do think that was beautiful. It was great, Justin Rogers. But just clean up those penalties, and I think you guys will start to feel better.
There was a few questions about the secondaries matchup against Dallas this week, including I got one here from John A. I think you just mentioned Meek Robertson. I think he's really going to factor into that calculus. CeeDee Lamb, we all know what he can do. He's beaten the Lions before. He lines up all over the offense for Dallas, including in the slot, and that could be a big challenge for Meek Robertson, right? I mean, there's like half a foot he's giving up in terms of size. If Dallas is going to move him around to put him in, mismatches, and I think that's something that we could see. You wrote about CD Lamb this week.
Yeah.
What do you think about this test for the secondary?
It's brutal. 141 snaps out wide, 136 in the slot through the season. That is tough. That is Dallas moving their biggest chess piece around and making you play to it. It's tough, man. The last 2 games, 17 catches, 297 yards, and 1 touchdown. I know a lot of that came on 1 big play, but CD doesn't have a 100-yard game on the season, but he's still stuffing the sheet. He's still getting the looks.
And we've seen the 1 big play against Detroit before.
Exactly. He almost had 100 yards on 1 play last year. Yeah. So it's paramount to their success this weekend. You're not going to stop CD Lamb, but if you can contain him, if you can keep him from breaking that big one, it's going to be a busy day for Arnold, Davis, and Robertson, and Branch, no matter where you see him too. But yeah, it's the CD Lamb show because Dallas has not been able to run that ball too well. So yeah, it's tough. It's its toughest task as it comes, just because of the way they use him all over the field.
Was that Kendall Vildor who fell down on the CD Lamb play last year?
It was.
Yeah. Tough gophers.
Yeah.
Vildor falling down in that play, and then the ball that bounced off his face mask in San Francisco. The good, like to our point though about the improvement in the secondary, like he's bottom man on the totem pole right now, and you have a lot of good talent out wide. It's unrefined, I would say, in terms of Terran Arnold. I'm less concerned about Carlton Davis. He had 1 game where he had 3. Otherwise, I think he's played real well this year. The talent is, I would say, improved, even though you have some yardage and penalty issues that have been given up in the first month of the season. I think also you have to look at the safety spot, which is playing really, really, really well. Kirby Joseph, I mean, he has 3 picks, right? All in the end zone this year. Brian Branch doing his thing. He didn't play a lot, in the last game because of the illness, but he's back now. He's back on the field. He'll play this week. And Aaron Glenn, when we talked to him this week, went out of his way to talk about how well those guys are playing. And that, I think, also is a difference for Detroit compared to last year's game when maybe there was some more ups and downs from the safety position.
Right.
And so it'll be interesting. I think it'll be one of the biggest keys to this game is how effective are you against Dak and particularly CD Lamb.
Yeah, I trust in this talent. I trust in the direction it's heading, and I do trust in the way that these pieces fit together. Because I mean, Kirby Joseph isn't just playing great; he's playing like he's one of the best safeties in the league right now. And it's not just the interceptions; it's that he's clean. It's so clean. He's not making the kind of freelancing mistakes he saw in the first 2 years. I feel really good about the secondary and their chances to really turn it around here. And after I almost said the second half of the season, after the bye week. Sorry, we're not there yet.
Have you seen the passer rating allowed by Kirby?
Was it 11? 11?
Maybe I should look it up. I thought it was 0.
Maybe
but either
0.
way,
yeah.
it's pretty good. To your point, like he's playing good ball.
Yeah.
And I think in years past we saw him take some poor paths to the ball. Like he's obviously more experienced, but I think there's something about the synergy playing with a guy like Brian Branch who can just line up everywhere and be your box safety. He can be your blitz safety. He can cover guys in the slot. Like, we saw that all last year. Really frees up Kirby to do his thing, which is just go play center field.
Yeah.
He looks like Parker Meadows out there, like just catching everything.
Exactly. And that's the perfect role for him, man. I think a lot of this tinkering with Branch's role was to set up Kirby for the type of success we're seeing.
Joseph Martin asks, glad to see that Brad Allen's officiating crew won't be back for this one. Do you think it's coincidence or not that the crew assigned to this game is one of the lowest on the penalty calling spectrum? Also, did you know the Lions are 0-6 in games officiated by Brad Allen? I actually knew that they were 0-6. That's a coincidence. I don't think the officiating crew has that much of an impact on a game, although it did last year in Dallas. I think it's just coincidence they're not. That crew is there's a lot that they put this least penalized yardage crew on this game. I don't think they think about it that closely. I think it's very intentional that Brad Allen's not calling this game. I think that would just be asking too much.
Right. I was going to say it's not coincidence. I mean, it's
No.
whatever with the lowest calling penalty. But yeah, it was probably an effort not to put Brad Allen back in that game this weekend. So 0-6, dang, that's yeah. I love the referee questions.
You notice how we get so many fewer of them?
Oh, it's awesome.
And that's what happens when you win. It's what I've said for so many years. Like it sucks when like calls go against you, but calls go against every team.
Yep.
When you win, the storylines just go away.
Yep.
when you lose, it's like, oh, well, we lost because of somebody else or something that happened to us. When that kind of stuff happens to everyone, play better ball. It doesn't affect you. That's exactly what we see with the Lions these days.
Yeah,
team.
Exactly.
David Qualls asks, through the first quarter of the season, which Lions stat do you think is most surprising? JMO leading the team in receiving yards, Goff having more receiving touchdowns than Sam Laporta, Aaron Arnold leading the NFL in defensive penalties with one less game played, the Lions defense being ranked 27th against the pass, or Lions defensive ends not named Aiden Hutchinson having half a sack through 4 games. What's most surprising to you?
I almost picked D, the passing D, but I'm going to go with B. Goff having more receiving touchdowns than Sam Laporta through 4 games. Yeah, that's an easy surprise.
Yeah, I'd go with you. Like the Terran Arnold thing, I'm not so surprised. It's hard to play cornerback in this league as a rookie. We see it all the time. For every Sauce Gardner, there's a handful of Terran Arnold's really talented players who are just learning the NFL game. They're going against the best 32 quarterbacks on the planet versus whoever Purdue is throwing out there on a given Saturday. Like it's a totally different animal. The windows are totally different. The route trees are totally different. The explosion of the receivers is totally different. It's a real challenge for corners, for most corners. And we're seeing that with Arnold. He's being challenged. He's also very talented. And I would not forecast like what he's capable of in the future based on a handful of penalties in the first month of his NFL career. If this was indicative for every corner, like what was going to happen, Darius Slay would be an also ran that had a 3-year career, and that was it. But like he's one of the best corners of his generation who found his way, and that's the kind of development that you ask out your coaching staff to take these guys who are super talented and bring them along. And that's, I think, the process the Lions are engaged with right now with regard to Terry Arnold. So I'm not surprised by that. I mean, in terms of just surprise factor, yeah, it's got to be Goff. I mean,
right?
Like we've seen him catch some passes in practice, but more touchdowns than Sam Laporta. Like that is, man, like I really agree with the Lions' approach of we have a lot of skilled players, a lot of talent out there. Like just throw to the open guy. I get it. But like it is a little confounding that we haven't seen more Laporta, and especially in the red zone where he was such a threat last year. And I know that the red zone offense has picked up in the last game or two, particularly against Seattle. But man, I would love to see Sam Laporta more involved in those sets.
Yeah, they don't need to force it to him, but I would like to see more primary options for him in the red zone. Just see, he's so good in space. He's so good at getting open, and he's got great hands. You need a little more Laporta. He's too good to kind of, if you're ever in the trouble in the red zone, try to find ways to get the ball to Laporta, man.
Brandon Thornton asks, which of the teams in our division can sustain their winning ways throughout the season? Which will fade? Who do you got? Who do you think can sustain it?
I think the Packers will be better as Love gets healthy, and I don't think the Vikings are going to win this division and be a threat at a Super Bowl, but I do think that they are for real and a playoff team for sure. I think the Vikings will fade a touch and the Packers will rise a touch, while the Bears will finish in 500 range.
Yeah, I wish I could disagree. I love disagreeing with you.
Right. Yeah.
but I can't. I agree completely. I really like Jordan Love.
Yep.
They've had some injuries and whatnot at the quarterback position, obviously, and they've navigated it really well. And I think this is a team that's going to find its stride as they get more and more healthy. Minnesota 5-0. You can't dismiss what they've done.
No.
The lemonade they've made after losing JJ McCarthy in training camp. Really, I was bummed. I mean, I was like really looking forward to see what he could do.
Yep.
But Sam Darnold, give him some flowers for navigating a tough situation. I don't know if 5-0 is sustainable. I still like the Lions in the division. I think the Packers are their most legitimate threat. And we have a bunch of divisional games coming up in the next few weeks. And I think we'll know a lot more in 2 or 3. I mean, the Lions have games on tap, in Minneapolis in 2 weeks. And after that at Lambeau Field.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Absolutely. Packers and Vikings, man. Great head coaches. You see what great head coaches can do for you. I think 3 of the top 5 or 6 head coaches in the NFL are in the NFC North, man.
Yeah. I totally agree. Eric in Kalamazoo asks, I realize you haven't had to hit the road much yet this season, but what's the best food you've had so far in the press box or in a tailgate? Does a Ford-filled press box spread offer much week-to-week variability? Or is it mostly the same every week? Eric, thank you very much. I love talking about press box food. I'm sure everyone hates it, but as a beat writer who, gets around. I love this stuff. I love free food.
Absolutely.
It's like one of the best perks of the job, man. Ford Field's like bottom third, I would say, when it comes to the food situation. It's been better this year. A lot of the times it's pretty boring breakfast food, although we've had some later games this year with primetime and whatnot. And they'll bring in slows. We've had tacos. There's some variance to the primetime games, and I think we all enjoy that. In terms of the road, we've only been to Arizona so far, and then there was Kansas City in the preseason. Kansas City had Kansas City barbecue, so it's hard to argue with that in terms of this season. But looking big picture, Ben, as we go into Dallas this week, there's a lot to look forward to, right?
Oh yeah, there is. Last year they had lobster rolls as an appetizer with a carving
rolls,
station
in the press box.
It's like
ice cream station. Don't put the word on the street or anything, but they have a keg in the press box after the game.
Yes, they do.
Beer on tap. It's one of the great treats in the NFL.
Yeah, Dallas. I'm excited for that press box fair this weekend back in Dallas. Dallas and SoFi were at the top of my list from last season, but Dallas was kind of like up here. And the Lions, the food at Ford Field's been better this year because of the primetime games. They're not going to put out the Holiday Inn continental breakfast buffet in those moments, but we'll see what happens down the stretch.
No doubt. And I have to say, we're going to Minnesota in 2 weeks. Minnesota, they have the omelet station.
That omelet station was unbelievable. Yeah, that was Christmas last year. That's right.
And you're going there this year, right?
Not Minnesota. I'll be in Dallas though.
Yeah, cool.
And then Green Bay.
Yeah. Okay, so Christian Anderson from Angier, North Carolina asks, do you think we will see Ennis Rakestraw get any meaningful playing time? I'm glad we have quality depth at DB now, but I'm curious to see how far along Rakestraw is in his development. I think we're getting our answer where he is. I mean, he's a special teams guy, has made some nice plays there. He also booted the ball into the end zone that one time on punt coverage.
Oh, that's right.
But no, I mean, he's like they love his physicality. They love what they're working with, but he's more of a developmental player than what Terry and Arnold is. Arnold's the starter right now for a reason. They brought in Carlton Davis for a reason, but Davis is on a 1-year contract. So I think, Rakestraw, you're going to see a lot of him maybe in year 2. Right now, he's your bench guy. And with the way injuries have hit this team, I have no doubt that he'll contribute at some point. He's the top guy off the bench on the outside. Can even play some nickel too. But right now, he's developing.
Yeah, and just a hamstring injury that takes 2 weeks away from you in the early portions of your rookie season, that's always going to put you behind. That's always going to put you down in the depth chart. But yeah, he's a long-term thinker. I think as soon as next year you'll start to see him more. I think we'll eventually see him a little bit. But yeah, a hamstring injury that keeps you out for a couple of weeks. That's tough, man, especially in that room.
I think it's what we got. They're about to start practice. We have to get out there.
Oh, yeah,
it's about that time.
We do that always. Perfectly timed.
Lions are 3-1 going into big game in Dallas, place they haven't won since like 1946, give or take. And we all know what happened last year. It's going to be on all of our minds going into this one. I'm really excited to see what the Lions bring.
Yeah, man. First road trip of the season for me. I'm playing. Jerry World rules.